are here. We are live for at the moment, we don't have an official name for the podcast yet, but we're thinking that it's going to have something to do with think tank at the moment.
Yeah, I like it.
But yeah, so JB&A, at the moment, JB&A think tank is the tentative name, but it's a podcast. Regardless, it's a podcast about just thinking about what you can do with the type of technology that we have with broadcast and the new technology that's coming out all the time. Today, I'm so happy to be joined in studio by the legendary Matt Bain, who's one of our engineers here at JB&A.
Thank you, Jordan.
So
Hey,
happy to have
hold
you.
on. Just first of all, thank you for letting me out of my home studio and inviting me in. So I'm happy to be out of my house for a little bit. So thank you.
Oh, it's been an absolute joy, and I just want to make mention of you are an avid collector of Nike sneakers. Correct?
Yeah. If people see any of my other videos, I'm sure they'll get a glimpse of my collection. But yes, I do have. People call it either a collection or a problem. So it's one of those two.
Exactly. I think it's something. It's inherent to you.
Yeah,
you know,
exactly.
I love that. Every time I see one of your videos, it's like, that's Matt.
Yeah.
It's unmistakable. Cool. So we have lots of cool things to talk about today. Mainly, it is how the Mackie product line can integrate with the TriCaster.
Yeah, I'm excited to talk about this one because, just like myself, you also are an audio guy, right?
Definitely.
And, we do a lot of video technology, but we also have personal passion for audio. So working with the Mackie products has been pretty great and fun for us. So yeah, we're gonna explore where Mackie fits really well into those TriCaster workflows.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm looking forward to it. So we have in front of us actually a Mackie Mix 8.
Yep.
And that is running pretty much all of our audio right now is running into the TriCaster through the Mackie. And do you want to just go over sort of what can the TriCaster do on its own before we get into this? Maybe what the TriCaster can do sort of on its own in the way of audio, because it's a lot.
Yeah.
It is a lot. It's not like it can't do anything. It can do
that's
a lot.
the thing. We don't want to take anything away from the TriCaster because the TriCaster has great audio tools built right into it.
Exactly.
And not everybody needs something else. But there are definitely one of the consistent requests we get from people is, we need to do something more. So that's why we can augment what the TriCaster does. But to talk about what the TriCaster does kind of inherently without anything else, we already have inputs directly there. So we're going to pull the embedded audio that's on any of the video sources that are coming in.
SDI and NDI.
SDI, HDMI, NDI. And then we also have, some inputs directly on the box. Now, each box is different depending on which TriCaster model you're using, but they all have some sort of inputs on audio. And again, that's going to change, but there is some limitations to that, not only in the amount of channels that you have access to, but also what are those types of signals that you're sending in.
Right.
So as you can see, we are utilizing a TriCaster for everything that we do here, and we have a Mackie on the desk, and that's for a reason.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so we really want to explain what that reason is and why people would need something like this, or maybe why they should start to plan for having a bigger audio solution for their Mac.
Yeah, and one of the biggest, I would say, is if you have any microphones that are live, like some people might, all of your audio could be embedded over SDI, HDMI, all that. So it's potentially could be.
Right.
But anybody who's using external microphone sources like these condensers that we're using now, or, a shotgun mic that isn't, tied to a camera, hard lavaliers or even wireless lavaliers, like all of that. If you have a microphone that is not going to be directly plugged into a encoder or into a camera, I would say that's the biggest thing, because of the TriCaster only having just balanced line level inputs, not having mic level preamps.
If you plan to use any microphone like these great sounding condenser microphones, you have to have phantom power, and that's not something that's going to be offered on any of the TriCaster models right now, at least.
Yeah.
So if you want these, you're going to have an external device of some sort, at least to bring in that phantom power. But then we also talk about, do you have the connectivity on the TriCaster that you need? Whether it's the amount of connections or the type of connections. Each one of those TriCasters is a bit different. So it's not going to have, you're not going to have 6 XLR inputs on the TriCaster models just for audio.
Yeah.
They're all kind of all over the place on each one of those models. So this just gives you that flexibility to bring in the audio sources that you need. Whereas, the TriCaster has a lot of great stuff built in it. And for the vast majority of productions, that's perfect. But then, there's productions like ours that we do. We need something else. We need some more.
And like we were talking about actually earlier before the podcast, the TriCaster is sort of like ready-made to do this.
Right.
Like with it not having mic, because some people might say that it's a problem that there aren't mic level inputs into the TriCaster. But since we want to do something like this, not having the worry of having extra noise, from the preamps that, double preamping and stuff like that, having this, as a gateway to pretty much any other audio source that we have, that is not in a video source. And like I said, not having the extra gain stage of having preamps on the TriCaster is really important. And like I said, so it's already tailor-made. So this isn't some weird fringe thing that no one ever does. The TriCaster is almost ready-made to do this with the audio inputs that it already has.
Right. And I mean, so not only are those technical implications very important, but then there's also just the people of this, right? So, right now, you and I can turn over here and adjust our audio at a moment's notice.
Exactly.
Whereas when you have a singular operator on a TriCaster, now granted, the TriCaster, we can break out control of the mixer portion of it, of the audio mixer portion of it, to a separate tablet or another device. However, a lot of times people want a tactile surface. I know I'm one of those people. And we want to be able to let people shine at their jobs. And when you get into more complex productions, doing everything for one person is difficult. Granted, there are people that are much better than I am and that can handle a lot more than I can.
Better than me too, then.
So we might be exposing my own production weaknesses.
No.
But I think, most people can attest to the fact that when you get into an all-in-one production system, it starts to get really hard for one person to do. And
we tried that here. And it's really hard. I mean, with Josh, is like Josh is amazing. It's like we've even had we've had people do, we've had Rick, our other engineer, we've had him live switch like remotely from up north. But I had to tell him in the radio, I was like, hey, I need audio control 1 second, and had to go in and do stuff. And it's like, could we have used, live view or something like that? It's possible. But a lot of times I just need the TriCaster interface, and you want to go in and do something. He's like, but now Rick, don't touch anything.
Right.
Don't try to switch while I'm trying to do something on the audio mixer. It's like, but that could be a problem, Yeah. The other thing too, is also, since we're talking about it, is troubleshooting. Is troubleshooting something that is software, like especially when it comes to audio, can be difficult. It's like when you separate it into the mixer, the one thing that you can say is that, okay, am I getting signal? You can see that instantaneously on a hardware. You probably can't see that here, but hardware VU meters that are moving. It's like, I can say, okay, it's not the mic, it's not the cable. I know that now. And being able to make those, like you were saying, those on the fly adjustments. We've got EQs here. Plenty of boards have plenty of other effects and stuff like that. But yeah, that's another. It's just another layer of control.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, there's all of those features. And then, plus me coming from a live production background, I would say one of the biggest things about the Mackie in particular is that they're built like a tank. And if you are doing productions that are mobile, I mean, just ruggedized frame in itself means a lot. And, I'm sure there are people that are going to be listening to this that have that experience, right? I have a Mackie 1202 VLZ mixer sitting on my desk that is over 15 years old, and it works like a champ. Right? It's been dropped off of the backs of trucks. It's been on stages all over the world, and it still works. That is why I tend to move towards the Mackies. Is I know it's going to work. So,
and they're no stranger to the mixing and audio game. It's like they've been doing mixers for a very long time.
It has, and obviously they have multiple models. The one that we're using here is really small, and that's because that's what we need for this. It's not overkill. So, I mean, that's the thing, is that they have a big range of products, and they all do what we need it for, right? They are here to pull off some of that process from our guy in the behind the curtain in the back room, right? And give us some control. But also, now I think when we started talking about this, there's some new things coming out that are really going to make this a bit more interesting. And I think that's kind of what got our creative juices flowing for this is thinking about how now the new NDI implications of audio, how those can affect what we're doing and how we can use our sources and our microphones and all the content that we make. We just have a lot more options than we've ever had before.
Oh, absolutely. And I think that's actually a really good segue into, because a lot of people might be wondering, it's like, okay, so what is this potentially going to do for me? How do I set it up? Like if I wanted to get into this, how I would set it. Josh, can you throw up the graphic that I sent you? That this is just sort of a, this is a very, very simple Mackie setup. That, and obviously, we've got some extra pieces here. We've got, a couple of mics down at the bottom. We've got the studio monitors, then the computer. And that is how you would set up a recording setup. But that will also, we'll actually talk about that because you don't need that, but that adds a whole nother layer of control on top of that. But what we've got here is, so we've got a TC1 and we have two connections. And this is actually exactly what we're doing right now and I don't know if you can, if the cameras can capture this, but we've got two balanced 1/4-inch TRS cables going out of the outputs of the board. And we just have that set to unity gain, just a standard level. But that is exactly going from the, this is an Onyx 24, but still goes out of the outputs out of the board directly into the audio input. It's actually up at the top of the 1/4-inch TRS inputs in there.
Right.
And that's the only audio source that is going into the TriCaster.
Yeah.
It's just a stereo left and right.
It's super simple, right?
Yeah.
And so the other thing though that we didn't mention is that you're also going to get a whole bunch of artistic control that you don't get with just having a TriCaster. Now the TriCaster has, it has EQ, it has compression, but when we talk,
especially this one,
but when we talk about, going to an external audio board, then you start getting, normally you're going to have microphone preamps that have some sort of a coloration to the sound. So you can start to really craft the sound of what you're trying to do. And I think, that's a piece that is often forgotten about.
Oh,
but
especially a lot of people don't think of this, but for smaller, for smaller productions, in TV and in broadcast, it's the worst. And you see this a lot, like in like really small news broadcasts,
right?
You'll see like, we have a special guest today and they brought that, it's this band. And it's clear the crew has no idea what to do, and rightfully so. That's not what they do.
Right.
Like they're used to lavalier, maybe a shotgun mic. It's like people in the field with a handheld. It's like that's what they're used to. It's like you bring a band in. Oh no, heaven forbid. Like but once you add a mix, especially something large like the Onyx 24, it's like but any mixer, it's like once you do that, then you can instead of just saying it's like, do we have a source? Yeah, we got audio. All right, good. Whatever.
Right.
It's like now you can start to say this. I wish I had a little more high end, or it's like I wish it was a little more compressed. You can make those decisions. Which true, TriCaster has those. But to be able once again have that as a dedicated, separated out audio processor is so important, especially if you want to do anything with music.
Oh, exactly. Multiple microphones, different microphone types.
Oh yeah.
If you have a stage, you're going to have different types of microphones. Very hard to deal with for one person if you want a good mix.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And so we're all about making the quality of your content better. And this is an obvious first next step to people that want to make their content better.
Guaranteed.
Yeah.
Guaranteed. And having, there's so many other things. You almost don't want to go down the rabbit hole. It's like there's so many other things that the mixer can, that can do just on its own with no computer control.
Right.
It's like sub mixes, being able to, give different talent different things and set up mix minus setups where it's like you can have your own closed circuit. Right now we essentially have a closed circuit setup with Josh, where Josh in the other room can say something to us. We hear it, the audience doesn't hear it. You know, and that's. It's,
By the way, he is telling me everything to say right here.
Yeah.
None of this is original.
Exactly. But yeah, so it's just there's so many things that can that you can do just with the mixer alone on its own, and not even a large one.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's excellent. And so actually, if Josh, can you bring up that graphic one more time? So thank you. That's so nice. Great. So you'll notice that in this graphic, we do have it set up to go to USB.
Yeah.
And you want to take that.
Well, it's one of those things that I want to take because I'm excited about it, but I'm too excited about it. It's like my brain keeps going over what are the options? What can I do? So I mean, the great thing is that when you look at the Mackie mixer lineup, they have digital mixers, they have analog mixers. The new Onyx series should be shipping here very, very soon.
It's been a long time coming.
Yeah. I'm really excited for it because it offers a few things. And one of those things is offering out multiple channels of input and output via USB. And that opens up some possibilities for whole new workflows.
Right.
Especially given the state of NDI, right? Because now, even the Mackie Onyx that you see here on the screen, it will ship with some some DAW, right? So you can get a free copy of the
waveform.
Yeah, waveform or Pro Tools First is included with it too, with a bunch of plugins. So now we can start to record separately.
Yep.
Really, really high quality, isolated records of your audio sources. We have all the functionality of, any of the plugins or the VSTs that we might be using. And now all of a sudden I can start to wrap those as NDI sources.
Because initially the way to do it would be and you could easily do it with the Onyx, is you can, bring your audio in same way, XLR cables, whatever that is. You bring them into a digital audio workstation. It's like my preference is usually Cubase or Reaper. It's like that's mine anyway. But you bring those in, then you can do whatever it is that you want, your different routing, your processing, all that stuff. Then go hardline out.
Yeah.
So and right out of the Onyx, it's like because the USB connection is literally just funneling the audio in, letting you mess with it, and then funneling the audio back out hardline to the quarter-inch outputs out of the board. You've got now you've moved the effects processing from the board into the DAW, into the computer.
Yeah.
But then going past that, like you said, with NDI, with the new NDI plugin, any VST or LV2 supported DAW can now ingest audio directly from any NDI source that you have, but then also output an entire full mix out as NDI.
Yeah.
Which is mental. It's absolutely mental to be able to say, it's like, that, okay, if you wanted to have a, just as a potential use case, you could put an encoder on a set of speakers somewhere else in the building.
Yeah.
No video. You're not worried about video. It's just, I just put an NDI encoder somewhere else and I grabbed it direct from the DAW.
Yeah.
Could be a completely different mix.
Right.
If you wanted to.
That's the thing. That's why I'm too excited, because I keep thinking of these crazy things that I can do with routing audio.
Which has been possible, but extremely either cost prohibitive or there's too much.
Just the infrastructure.
Yeah,
and the cabling.
Exactly. It's like to be able to say that technology is free.
Yeah. Yeah, it's pretty incredible.
Unreal.
And not only that, but these Mackie mixers are not expensive. They're not.
They don't have to be.
They don't have to be. They're not cost prohibitive. So you're not talking about buy another TriCaster, buy another huge production switch. No, it's a pretty small cost for the benefit that you get.
And you can get little, and you can get they aren't all the exact same features.
Right.
It's like, so the Pro FX V3, that one has two USB outputs,
2 channels of I/O on the USB. And then the Onyx 16 and the Onyx 24 offer 16 channels of I/O over USB.
But then only, I think, 6. Is it 6 in the way of output? Well, it all sums down to 2.
Right.
It all sums down to 2 in that regard.
Correct.
Yeah. but you can
Right.
get your feet wet with one of the smaller USB boards. Once again, still not cost prohibitive. You can get going with that. And then if you decide that you need more,
Well, I mean, that's the thing though, is that they have the boards like this one, where if you don't need that crazy NDI capability, then you don't need it, and you don't need to get one of the Onyxes.
still help. Still
Definitely.
definitely help.
Definitely.
Yeah.
I mean, you're going to get more of a few other things.
But you don't have to use the USB capability if you don't want to.
Right, exactly.
You know?
But I mean, the idea is that within the Mackie product range, you can kind of buy for either your budget or for what you are trying to do. And there's products in there that will probably fit both for you.
Absolutely. Yeah. And to me, like, in the way of the TriCaster specifically, it's the Mackie just works.
Yeah.
You know, it's like there are other boards. I'm not knocking any other people, but I like the simplicity of it. Just like, do you have the right cable? Yeah, it just works.
Yeah.
You know, and it's like, and it continues to just work. And even if you do decide to get a larger mixer down the line, like, so you get the small mixer, then you get the larger mixer later. It's like, I've had situations where I just need audio here, and it's like, not having a little mixer like this thing is in handy.
This is like an essential tool.
So many times. I'm serious. There have been so many situations where I need audio to go here, and it's like, grab a Mackie real quick.
Yeah.
Just grab a Mackie. It's got all. It's got an aux. This one does have an aux.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
This one has a single aux in it.
single
It's
aux,
like, so you can, it's a Swiss Army knife.
Yeah, exactly.
The small ones especially are just a Swiss Army knife, and
Yeah, this is one of the products that's never a bad investment, right?
No, absolutely not. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's really excellent.
But yeah, so I'm really excited about what's going on with NDI, specifically around audio and DAWs, and how we can start to augment those workflows. Because, to be frank, I haven't even thought of all the different ways we can start to use.
We really won't. I don't think we're gonna see all of those for quite some time, and then especially people deciding to develop different things and stuff like that as time goes on. It's like, we're really, like, the big thing, and I know we just there was a podcast we did not too long ago with Nick that was talking solely about the VST plugin, but being able to then do virtual sound checks from anywhere, potentially, is crazy. Being able to tell somebody, it's like, oh yeah, pop that up a little bit, pull that back, adjust the gain. It's like, you could buy all this and then have somebody say, it's like, well, I don't know how to use it. It's like, technically, as soon as Bridge comes out, you don't really need to.
You're right.
When you've got IO, that's the other thing. It's like, you might only have a couple of outputs on a Mackie that are going out of your DAW. But now you have 16 NDI outputs going out of your DAW, regardless of what sound card you choose, which is crazy. Once again, absolutely insane that is now free for everybody to be able to have.
Right.
The full multi-track output to go over Bridge once it comes out at the time of this taping, once Bridge is enabled,
right.
To be able to have 16 channels of audio go out via NDI, go out on the network, out into the world, onto somebody else's network, virtually, and then be able to essentially mix it. You could say our audio engineer is on site.
Yeah
He's in his pajamas somewhere. Yeah.
And plus you get all the other tools, right? So it's not just that distribution and routing portion. It's now I have great preamps, I have great sounding EQs, and then let alone everything that I have in my DAW, all of my expensive plugins that I might be using, my compression.
Which, I don't know about you. I'm pretty sure you've got certain plugins that are just like, I have to have.
All of my plugins have presets.
Exactly. And that's something too, that it's like, like I said, once again, obviously TriCaster does have, plugin style EQ, compressor, gate, I think even an expander.
There's a limiter.
Limiter too. It's like, so it has a lot of the basic things that you would need to be able to, to make audio work and sound awesome.
Right.
It's like, but there are, especially for, sort of specialty plugins or like, channel strips. It's like, I use the SSL stuff all the time. It's like, sometimes, especially if you bring in somebody, here's another thing. When you bring somebody in who's not in broadcast to do audio, and they know audio, but they don't know broadcast, it's more difficult to to find somebody. It's potentially more difficult to find somebody who knows broadcast audio instead of somebody who just knows audio.
Oh yeah.
Because I've known the opposite too, where they know broadcast audio but they don't know audio, and that's a problem on its own. But then a lot of times you'll find people that it's like, oh, I know Pro Tools, or oh, I know Logic, or whatever it is, but you ask them to look at a TriCaster audio mixer, they're gonna have no idea what to do.
Right.
So this also opens up the amount of volunteers that you could potentially have.
Exactly.
It's like, oh, don't worry about it. All of your audio is handled through a mixer and through a digital audio workstation.
Yeah.
And to be able to record all of your ISOs instantly alongside has nothing to do. We were talking about it before with the amount of audio ISOs that you could potentially have, recorded into your DAW versus having to, very methodically say, it's like, okay, how many ISOs do I have on a TriCaster?
Right. And
now I have to figure out how to get maybe potentially 8, 16, however many ISOs. You can't do it.
Yeah.
If somebody says you have 16 audio ISOs, sorry.
Right.
Nothing you can do. With this.
And who wouldn't want to easily have a secondary, backup record?
Oh, of course.
Right.
Of course. How many times have we heard it's like, he had a hum in his mic.
Yeah.
It's too late. There's nothing we could have done. It's like, or in the moment, it's like, yeah, if we could just gate that, it's like, just to be able to have it just available. It just has nothing to do with video. Let video be video.
Yeah.
Let audio be audio.
And if you are an operator of a TriCaster, right, that is, you're switching panels to go back and forth between your video switcher and your audio mixer. And, complex things, multiple cameras, multiple microphones. That's a lot for anyone.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And like I said, we've tried it here. Has it worked? Yes. But not at the cost of having to be on the radio, constantly say, hold on a second, I got to move this over, blah, 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 whatever it is. Because they're currently, if you want that tactile control over audio, mixer is going to be the way to go.
Yeah, exactly.
So, yeah. So this has been excellent conversation.
Yeah. I'm excited to do a round 2 once we figure out all the cool workflows we can achieve now.
Absolutely. Yeah. There's a lot of really cool stuff right on the horizon. Once we get the full tool set, like I said, at the time of this recording, we don't have everything available to us. But once we have all the tools available to us and really sort of ruminate, like they didn't see it, but we talked for, oh Lord, probably like an hour and a half, you, me, and Josh just sitting around the whiteboard trying to figure out different things that you could potentially do with this, and there's a lot of problems that can be solved.
It's one of those things that keeps you up at night.
Oh yeah. Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. Well, Matt, thank you.
Thanks for letting me out of my office, man.
Absolutely. Oh, I love it. I hope we can do it again, even if it can't be in person the next time. If we can do it remotely, it would be great to have you on
I know that Nick and I look slightly alike, but that doesn't mean that he has to be out of the office when I come.
Yes, exactly.
So next time, hopefully, that'll be the 3 of us.
That would be sensational. Matt, thank you so much.
Thanks, Jordan.
Absolutely. Take care.
See ya.
Take care, everybody.